I am absolutely obsessed with this red-haired, one-armed alcoholic man named after a sharpened toothbrush. There are so many reasons for that obsession, and I promise that only like 80% of those reasons are completely insane and or weird and or creepy and or because I've been watching One Piece so long that I basically have Stockholm Syndrome. Somebody please help me. But that aside, I do want to take the time to go through each of those reasons individually because I'm sure some of you out there can relate, and you might find a new reason to be obsessed with Shanks that you didn't even know existed before. Plus, if you do end up having different reasons for liking or not liking Shanks, then you could always let me know in the comments down below so that I could absorb this information into myself like a giant Katamari Damacy ball destined to one day grow big enough to consume the planet itself. But seriously though, my time is coming. Be afraid. Be very afraid. But real talk, do you know what else you should be? Ready for the first reason that I'm obsessed with Shanks, because it's time for that part of the video now. Shanks is so cool, which, yeah, you might think, no DuckPiece, Shanks isn't that cool. His hair is red after all, which is the color of fire, and fire is notoriously not very cool. And to that I say, maybe I'm an arsonist, you don't know me like that. No, but for real this time, to that I say, set your heart ablaze. It really is such a cool line. But anyway, legit though, Shanks has maintained such an incredibly high cool factor for incredibly long, and yes, part of that is because One Piece itself is incredibly long, so it gives characters way more time to do their thing, whatever their thing may be. But honestly, I feel like I don't even need to really explain this point at all, because we all get it, Shanks is the cool guy, that's kind of his thing. But another reason that I'm obsessed with Shanks is that Shanks is a mystery that keeps getting better. So let's take a second to walk through his story together. Homie starts off being framed as an idol to young Luffy, which also pushes him into that role for me as a member of the audience, because I am quite easily manipulated. He's introduced to the audience in a way where his maturity, authenticity, and power are directly contrasted to everyone else around him. He's way more mature than Child Luffy, more capable of getting things done than the townspeople, and far more noble than Higema the Meanie. And yeah, I know his epithet isn't meanie, but he is a really big meanie, so that's going to be his epithet moving forward. Higema the Meanie. Literally the only characters in the flashback that embody similar traits to Shanks are in his immediate crew. However, even then, Shanks is inherently contrasted to these crew members by being their freaking captain and therefore being framed as superior to them. And as baller of an introduction as that is, Shanks pretty immediately one-ups himself. The first time we really learn new information about Shanks that changes the way we see him, he becomes a martyr without hesitation in order to save the life of a small child he cares about. This sets a precedent for Shanks that's maintained throughout One Piece. We do not get a lot of information about Shanks throughout the series, but whenever we do, the revelations are so earth-shattering that even Toph would be jealous. And they always make Shanks appear a lot more intense. Think about it, right? The way that we're drip-fed information about Shanks throughout the series, we go from martyr to radio silence, to learning he's chill with Dracule, freaking Mihawk, and Goatbeard, to more radio silence, to oh, what's that? He's a literal emperor of the freaking sea, to radio silence yet again, to can I interest you in being a Fairlin by any chance, to radio silence once more, to Captain Kidd, more like Captain Killed. Allegedly, but not really, because this is One Piece, everyone lives. Look, all I'm saying is that I've been habituated by One Piece to have the highest expectations for Shanks. The nature and extent of his identity and abilities are gripping mysteries that I've been taught always pay off because each revelation is a bombshell. Although part of me does wonder how long this effect will last, because he eventually has to run out of fun facts just as I do after sharing a grand total of 0 fun facts about myself. But that aside, another reason that I am obsessed with Shanks is that he is so considerate of others that his kindness even shows up in his epithet, red-haired Shanks. I mean, think about it, right? Even if you have red-green color blindness, you get to know what color his hair is. That's so considerate, especially considering most pirates have an epithet that's just there for the cool factor. Shanks went for hair-based accessibility, that's why he's my hero. And by hero, I mean he's my hero, like hair with an O at the end, hero, because his hair, oh my gosh, it's so accessible, which is something I imagine the shipping community is fond of because they often want easy access to his hair for regular head pats. Speaking of head pats, hey, you, the viewer, yes, you, hi, hello, it's me, DuckPiece. I wanted to get your attention because this is a serious matter that I'm about to bring up. I have a huge gap in my knowledge base and was wondering if you could help me out. Are head pats a type of mat pat? Like, you know how there's different types of mat pats, like lore pat and mat pat and hat pat? Are head pats one of them? Like, is there just a giant floating head of mat pat out there wandering the cosmos and theorizing? Because if so, that's terrifying.
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Please always help a friend out. But real talk though, which is ironic because I'm about to talk about a fictional pirate, back to Shanks. Shanks is super considerate and compassionate, which is something I admire both in real people and in fictional characters. I want to work on becoming more like that myself because I believe being understanding and kind to others is important. It's not so much about what others think about you, per the scene where Shanks is being mocked by Higgum the Meanie. It's about the actions you take in your life and the impact they have on both yourself and others. Shanks is practical, kind, and focuses on what matters most to him, and I admire that. But do you know what else I admire? His ability to push through adversity. It's super easy to give up in life following a huge setback and to just get stuck in feeling bad about yourself, which is a fair and very human reaction. But Shanks keeps pushing forward and achieving amazing things despite all of his setbacks. And these are major setbacks, people, despite how much Shanks downplays them. Like, the guy has a massive scar over his eye and even lost an arm, yet he still finds a way to achieve success and keep pushing forward with an insane level of determination. I find that it takes me personally a little while to bounce back from major life setbacks, so I really admire people who can bounce back more quickly and continue pushing forward. I eventually get to that point myself too, and am good at continuing to push forward and overcome obstacles, but I don't do it nearly as quickly or effectively as Shanks. Although, to be fair, you could probably argue that his lax attitude towards adversity is one of the reasons he so often finds himself in those situations. If he were less comfortable with adversity and the challenges associated with sacrifice, he'd probably still have both arms right about now. Speaking of his arms, another thing that I love about Shanks is what he could do when he had both of them. And no, I don't just mean give big hugs that last just a little too long to not be awkward. I mean, he used to rival Mihawk back in the day when he had two arms. This is so cool because Shanks isn't even trying to be the world's greatest swordsman, but can easily compete on that level due to his overwhelming skill. Despite having this skill, he doesn't really make a big deal about it. He just simply has the ability to compete on that level and use it when necessary. This adds to the whole persona of Shanks being a super genuine person. Although I do wonder what would happen if Oda decides to go the route of making Shanks evil, because then his genuine personality becomes this big manipulative con. Which I get makes sense because Shanks is a figureland after all, a world noble. Although part of me does like how Shanks being a good world noble who lives among the common people juxtaposes Doflamingo being a bad world noble who also lives among the common people. It's this nice nod to the idea that your future isn't necessarily determined exclusively by your genetics, but by other factors as well. Despite world nobles pushing the narrative that they are inherently different from everyone else, Shanks and Doflamingo turned out in ways that directly reflected their environments. Shanks grew up with the Roger Pirates and a whole lot of bank sake. Doflamingo grew up with a traditional world noble family, and by the time his family became more compassionate, Doflamingo's worldview was already twisted way beyond repair. But what isn't beyond repair is your ability to drop a like on this video. I mean, hey, you made it this far in the video, so you probably found some value in it. Unless, of course, the only reason that you're still here is because you found yourself trapped in a bizarre torture chamber which forced you to watch DuckPiece videos all day against your will. In which case, I'm sorry, but we discussed this earlier. The only way I'm letting you out is if you find Waldo. But if that doesn't describe you and you enjoyed the video, leave a like because it seriously helps the channel out a ton. And afterwards, why not check out one of these two videos? YouTube did the math and thinks you'll personally really like the video on the left. But if you're feeling brave, why not click on the video on the right instead? To defy the YouTube gods and make your own video watching Destiny with a video that was selected through other suspicious means.